Okay, I'm going to take a stab at showing you a little bit about how to play Mississippi John Hurt's Lewis Collins, which goes like this. So I'll show you that intro, and then there's another couple variations I'll show you a little bit later. So it starts out on this G chord. Now he played it a couple different ways. When he played it in the 60s, oftentimes he played it like this. He'd just slide up and the bass note would just, this bass note would never be struck. It was just back to here. But when he recorded it in the 20s, it was a little bit different. He did this. And I like that because it's so straight, unsyncopated, and then it adds this little syncopation here when he gets back down to the G7th into the C. So let me show you that. I also love how he adds the syncopation, almost like having a pedal point on this open B string. You'll see, you'll listen for that. You can kind of practice it by just doing the thumb and that pedal point like this. Here's without the little pedal point syncopations. So you can try both of them and then you'll combine them like this. Now there's always little variations, like here I do. You can do that hammer on from the first fret to the third fret, or you can do you can try to do it fast like that, or you can just not do that first note and just do that note. I'll show you that. Any of those are fine, and I think he did it different ways when he played it different times. But now, this again you can play different ways. But one thing that he did do occasionally, especially in his 1928 recordings, is he would use his middle finger on that high note, and sometimes do eighth notes, and you have to kind of try to get fast at that. Let me play that again for you. Right here. Again, that's so important here is to understand when that thumb is really driving. Not driving yet. Here it's just picking out, but then as soon as we get into the song, you could just play the whole song like that, and it would be fine. Miss Collins, we miss Collins moan to see her poor son Lewis leave his home, and the angels laid him away. In fact, when John Hurt plays, a lot of the times, especially when he's singing, while he's actually singing, he's not doing a whole lot with these strings. A lot of times, the high parts come in between vocal lines. Let me see if I can illustrate that. So a lot of full playing here, a lot of melody in the high. Miss Collins, we miss Collins moan to see her poor son Lewis leave his home, and the angels laid him away. Maybe less so in Lewis Collins than in other songs, actually, because there is some sort of playing along with the melody in Lewis Collins. But we do see that in a lot of Mississippi John Hurt, where it's almost call and response between the guitar and the vocal. And that's something to keep in mind. And especially, even in Lewis Collins, when there's an opportunity for a little bit of syncopation there, doing it in between where the singing is happening. let me think of where that happens. Miss Collins moan, see her poor son Lewis leave his home, leave his home. And you know, between leave and his home, there's some accenting there, and you kind of hear that pop out. This week, Miss Collins moan, and right there, poor Collins leave his home. One thing again I will stress, and I've stressed it in other videos, Mississippi John Hurt's signature sound is this. It's not that everything is syncopated, it's the alteration between sort of straight notes and syncopated notes that makes it so bouncy. Those syncopations sort of pop out, and you can hear that a lot in Lewis Collins. Miss Weep, Miss Collins moan, see her poor son Lewis leave his home, leave his home, and the angels laid him away. Now I'll leave it to you to figure out exactly, and you can slow down on YouTube, exactly which fingers are striking which strings. And one of the reasons I don't want to focus too much on that is that I do think, while I do think it's good to get all of this stuff in your muscle memory, and you're going to have to practice and break it down to get it into muscle memory. Ultimately, what you're going for is not always making sure your fingers are doing the exact right thing, but having a sound in your head, in your ear, like your mind's ear, that hears these little phrases and can sort of pop them in at will, and especially not just in terms of melody, but in terms of the rhythm as well. And there's different ways you might be able to bring in those syncopations. It might be, or it almost, if that makes sense, it's more about the flow of the rhythm, straight rhythm to syncopated rhythm. I just love that intro there. It's just a great example. It's funny when people refer to like sort of folky style picking or pattern picking. A lot of times it is syncopated, but it's all syncopated. Or the other way, it's not syncopated. The trick here and the magic of Mississippi John Hurt is the being able to go back and forth between syncopated and straight. But one thing I would encourage you to think about is that the driving thumb rhythm should be the sort of fundamental basis, the fundamental foundation that everything else is built upon. So when we go back and forth between straight rhythms and syncopated rhythms, the one thing that doesn't change is this driving bass rhythm, and that's really key. One thing I did also want to add a little variation here that comes up. It's really neat, especially in this song. In one of the instrumental verses, he does it. And I'm not sure what version he did it on, or if he ever does it while he's singing as well. But to see her poor son Lewis leave his home. That's that part of the melody. Sometimes he'll go, instead of, he'll do this. Very sad. It adds this sort of melancholy aspect to it. So instead of someone does. And all that is a hammer on that E string. It's from the C into the F. So anyway, that's a fun thing to try. So I would recommend listening to his recordings of it. I will link a video of him playing it. I'll also link, there's a great version of John Jackson playing it and I think teaching it. I highly recommend that. But I also especially recommend going back and listening to his recordings he made of it in the 60s, listening to his recording he made in 1928. And if you can, get some of that software like Amazing Slowdown or there's a few other ones, Transcribe, that allows you to slow it down. If there's little sections you like, slow it way down so you can hear what he's picking and kind of you can match out with the pitches too so that your guitar is in the same key as his, and so the notes will match up. That makes it easier. Miss Collins, we miss Collins moan to see her poor son Louis leave his home, and the angels laid him away. The angels laid him away. Well, they laid him 6 feet under the clay, and the angels